Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and this is Ask a Herbert Erpaderp 120. You know what that means. 121 is next, I guess? I don't know where I was going with this. Anyway, question time. Rid Phoenix 773 said, "What type of paint do you think is the best to use? Example Tamiya, AK Interactive, or Humbrol?" There isn't really an answer to this, and I'm not sure why people are so interested in reducing everything to one absolute best thing. It doesn't really work like that. A lot of paints are more or less the same thing. Not exactly the same. Some will be thinner than others and things like that, but they're not all that different. Well, obviously lacquer and acrylic are going to be different, but you know what I mean. I think the main differences are going to be particular colours. One brand may have colours you like better, or are more suited to your project, and if you don't really want to mix colours, that's probably what you're going to choose. There's nothing that says you can only use one brand of paint. Some people do have it in their heads that you have to pick one brand and be loyal to it, which I find very strange indeed, but you can in fact use different brands on the same model. You may have issues if you want to try and mix some of them, and you'll certainly have issues if you try to mix enamels and acrylics together, for example, but they can all still go on the same model. I guess I'm starting to waffle, but if you really want to figure out the best paint for you, you're going to have to try them out yourself. Or if you would prefer, find somebody who will just tell you what they use is the best. I think experimenting and trying out things for yourself is the best way to go though. Rid Phoenix also said, "Also, do you do weekend streams, cause I can't watch on weekdays?" I do often stream on the weekend, usually video games though, and that's mostly because Barnaby is more likely to be around on the weekends, and I would prefer to play games with my friend than build models. Generally it does depend on what's happening though. The only streams I really schedule are modelling ones on Monday morning and Wednesday evenings. I guess the answer is I do stream on the weekends, but I'm hesitant to give exact times when I do. The weekend is the hardest time to be consistent for me. I like to do things on the weekend as well. I guess the thing to do would be to keep an eye on notifications and Discord announcements and such. Musei said, "Which do you like better? The consolidated B-24, the Boeing B-17, or the Boeing B-29? It's a toss-up between the B-17 and B-24. Both of them are interesting looking and that's the main thing I'm basing this on, but I think I'd go for the B-24. Happy Boy said, "Should I drink paint so I have pretty insides?" It's not really a good idea to drink paint for health reasons, though I suppose a lot of modelling paints are non-toxic. I still wouldn't recommend it though. Besides, I don't think the paint would stick to your insides anyway, so there would be no point. The Big Boy said, "Are you excited for the Takom 1/72nd scale Krupp Raumer?" I didn't know they were making one, but that's one interesting and derpy looking vehicle. So I would of course be interested in getting my hands on it. I don't think I'll rush out to get it or anything like that, but it will definitely be on my list of stuff to get. Crocgator 369 said, "Does exist?" No, doesn't exist and can't hurt you. That meme thing doesn't really work in audio form, does it? Jono said, "Do you expect the Spanish Inquisition?" Nobody does. Nobody. Hobbit Feetman 03 said, "Why don't you paint your models thanks, or post videos painting them on YouTube? You're either stupid or trying to troll. I'll let you pick which one." Rid Phoenix said, "Can you play Scrap Mechanic? I think it would be a good game to play." Yeah, actually I have played it before. I think I might have streamed it, though it was a while ago. I was watching Not That Will Smith streaming it recently and it looks significantly different to the last time I played it, so I'm keen to check it out again. This time I will certainly do it on stream if I didn't before. Smoze said, "If you could be a kitchen appliance, what would you be? I'd be a toaster as I'm pretty specialised, but worse come to worse I can do other things as well. I think I'd be a microwave, because the food I cook is usually not that great but still edible, and if society collapses and there's no power, I'm not very useful." Fog of War said, "Do you know if there's a good STL file of the Bob Semple tank to 3D print? It would be great to have a fleet of 15mm Bob Semples to crush enemies on the tabletop in flames of war. Bob Semple spam for the win." I don't know. I don't have a 3D printer, so I don't really keep up with what's around that you can print, because obviously I'm not going to be able to print it anyway. I'm pretty sure somebody else might know though. If you do, let Fog of War know. Also, definitely go and check out his videos on YouTube, they're very good. Trekan Beluvic said, "Did you ever throw away a model you painted because you did not like the way it turned out?" Pretty much all of the models I made when I was younger were either destroyed by me because I was a no-good punk kid, or thrown away by my mother at some point after I'd left. Since I got back into models in my 20s, I haven't thrown anything away. I feel like keeping old models around is a good way to see how you've improved over time. Sneaky Zaku said, "If you could make any model of yours a remote control one, which would it be?" That's a tough one. I think it would be pretty cool to have something tiny like 15mm scale be remote controlled. I'm assuming this question doesn't require it to be realistic to have RC gear in the tank. At any rate, I think maybe the 28mm scale AC-1 Sentinel dick tank, because that'd be fun, especially if the whole machine gun was motorized. Though to be fair, just about anything would be fun as an RC tank. Rock Bentley said, "When are you going to record another game of Bolt Action? Your last one was really enjoyable." I don't know. Someday, hopefully soon. Lockdown has really screwed with that actually. Trying to find a space to set up a table and film a game is pretty hard when you can't go anywhere, and I just can't do that here because of space reasons. I am actually thinking about hiring one of the band rehearsal spaces around town, because you can book sessions there for like 3 or 4 hours, or maybe even 5, and it's just a big, well, big enough empty room. Something like that would cost money, but it might be worth doing. Fog of War, again, said, "So, a more serious question. Battlefront are getting around to late war in Flames of War with some new plastics. Have you been keeping an eye on this? Do you have any of the new plastic kits you want to build, like the Daimler and Dingo ACs, in plastic, the plastic 17-pounder AT guns, the new plastic Stuart? A lot of the new plastics so far are older molds, but there are a few interesting new things. I have to decide what I want to buy for review on my channel too. I haven't really been keeping track. I am of course always interested in trying new Flames of War plastics, but there's just so much stuff all around to keep track of that I kind of find it hard. I did have a quick look at their website and I saw the Daimler and Dingo set you mentioned, and that looks pretty cool. I'm almost certainly going to pick that up. The Priest looks like it might be cool as well. I do actually find it a bit odd that they're releasing older plastic kits as new releases, and it's kind of hard to tell if there are any changes to the plastic or if they've added anything, or if it's just a new box with maybe a different number of vehicles or something. I do plan on soon putting in an order for some more Flames of War stuff because other than a couple of Zvezda kits, I am running low on 15mm stuff. Just haven't got around to figuring out what I want. But some Flames of War stuff, and the new plastic Italian tank from Warlord are things I intend to spend money on next, and maybe some plastic Soldier Company stuff. Martin Gotham said, "Thoughts on Airfix Band of Brothers World War II Wargame starter?" Unless I'm missing something, I didn't know there was one. Or do you mean the fact that Airfix sells the Bolt Action Band of Brothers starter in their store? If it's the latter, why not? A lot of companies do sell products from other companies in their stores. It's not like these companies are sworn enemies or something like that, though some people do seem to think that they are, for some reason. They're businesses, and when it's in their best interests, they work together. If there is actually an Airfix starter set for a World War II wargame, I might be interested. King Tiger 435 said, "Are you aware of the recent Twitch music copyright problems? Be careful what you use." I have been seeing a lot about this recently, though the only thing about it that's really recent is some publisher or other identity has filed some DMCA takedowns on clips. I assume that means they've recently discovered that those are a thing. Unlike with the VODs, Twitch doesn't mute the automatically detected copyright material in clips. It seems like it won't save a clip if it does detect that music, but already saved clips are a problem. Other than that, nothing has really changed, I don't think. It should though. The DMCA is over 20 years old now, and it's from a time when streaming wasn't a thing. The music industry doesn't really seem interested in keeping up with the times, and most of it is archaic and getting less and less relevant as time goes on. I guess that's not super relevant though. Personally, I'm fine having my VODs muted, and I would happily pay for Spotify or something like that if there was like a streamer version that covered you for public broadcast. as long as it was reasonably priced. Purchasing broadcast rights as it is would be way too expensive and would probably have to be done song by song. There are also generic Creative Commons licensed music services, but everything I've heard from them is just kind of boring to me, and it mostly seems to be electronic stuff, which I'm not really that into. The generic stuff is fine for YouTube videos, there's a lot less dead air there, and I'm not listening to it anyway. I guess the simple solution would be just to have no music, obviously, but I don't think that would be as good, and I do enjoy having music in the background when I stream. I have been thinking about it since it has been news, and I will probably have to make some sort of a change at some point. I mean, I could just keep the music in my headphones but not on stream, or I guess I could have the generic Garbo music on the stream and nothing in my headphones. Or I could just have silence. I think that's the worst option. I'll figure something out. Ratto said, "When's the next Ask a Barnaby going to be?" I don't know, he's pretty busy lately so he might not have the time, but I will ask him if he would be interested in fielding some questions. He might say no, and that's okay, but if he's interested, I'll let you know in the next Ask a Herbert Erpaderp and you can submit questions for him then. Smoes said, "Opinion on Radiohead?" Indifference mostly. I'm not familiar with all of their stuff of course, but what I have heard never really interested me enough to look into them more. That said, it's not something I hate, so I wouldn't turn it off if it was on the radio or whatever the expression is, I just feel indifferent. Muse said, "Did those headless Germans from the Bolt Action playthrough years back ever find their heads?" I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, the heads are probably in the same box as the bodies, but they don't have any heads and thus no eyes, so they probably can't see the heads to reattach them. Does it count as reattaching if they were never attached? You know what I mean anyway. I'll stick them on one day. Grungy Dan said, "If I mail you $1, will you make another solo play Bolt Action video? Part-time Gamer 523 offered $5, and Ratto has gone all out and offered all of the Monopoly money he has." I mean, if you guys do want to give me money specifically for a Bolt Action game video to happen sooner, I am willing to take that, but it'll cost a bit more than that, especially if I do end up hiring a rehearsal space like I mentioned earlier. The last time I used one of those it was about $40 or $50 for a session, which, considering bands are usually, 4 or 5 people, that's not too bad. And even by myself it's really not that bad. At any rate, it is one of the things I want to do anyway, it'll just take some time. But I do now have some lights I could use to make those videos better, and it's kind of tempting to try some drone shots on a gaming table too. That sounds decadent. So it is going to happen probably soonish. It's really just a matter of finding the time and place. Like I said earlier, COVID-19 has really messed with that. Monol said, "Is the Panzer 38T the cutest tank ever made? Yes or yes?" It's pretty cute. I was going to suggest that maybe it's not the cutest ever, but fuck it, I'll say yes. Especially if you put some little googly eyes on the front of the turret. Jono said, "Is starting chains in Ask a Herbert Erpaderp stupid?" I wouldn't go so far as to say it's stupid, but it depends. Sometimes it can be fun when a question or a joke or whatever is iterated on. Sometimes it does seem like uncreative variations, though I think usually it's just a bit of fun, as long as it doesn't become a huge load of spam. Jack647 said, "What do you do when most of the Ask a Herbert Erpaderp questions are repeats of the same simple question?" As with the previous question, it depends. I could either answer them all, which might end up being a bit tedious. The other choices are to answer none, or maybe one or two as I did earlier, or I can just group them up into one question. I just do what feels right at the time. And my considerations are usually, is this a waste of time? And will it be funny or entertaining if I do it a certain way? If you mean things like favourite tank and those sort of repeat questions, I'll either answer it or just ignore it. I am going to have to do that FAQ I've been talking about for a billion years. It's kind of a low priority thing though, and other more important things keep happening. It'll get done eventually though. Maybe. I hope. Ratto said, "Do you think love can bloom even on a battlefield?" I heard that love is a battlefield. So can love bloom on itself? I think it could. In the YouTube comment section of the previous Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, Major General Bunk said, "Ooh, the title is free for anyone to fill in. Allow me. Wheely69ing on Twitch at 4:20 in the morning, GMT. There, how's that for a title?" That's perfect, and I think I'll use it on this video. Trekan Baluvich said, "Is the soldier at 5 minutes 23 from the background video doing piss?" I think he was. He deserves to be shot for not doing that in the toilet. Also for being a Nazi. Gross. Do Not Even Try said, "Do you think you'll ever do a sort of Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, but one for questions only, and one for models only?" I mean, never say never, but at the moment I don't plan on doing anything like that. I don't see much point in separating them, and it is a bit more efficient to keep them in the same video. It is possible that I'll do an Ask a Herbert Erpaderp with only questions and nothing else, but that's really the sort of thing I'll do when I'm really pressed for time. So obviously I wouldn't be doing a separate modelling video at the same time because, well, obviously that would defeat the purpose of saving time by not including the modelling section on the Ask a Herbert Erpaderp. Jan Tima said, "Can you stab and shoot a German Nazi at the same time?" Sure, if you want. A bayonet is probably the best way to do that. You could also do it to any kind of Nazi, German or not. Red Gotham said, "How many Zvezda kits do you have?" I don't know how many I've built and I'm too lazy to count, mostly because I would have to go and find them all. I think I've got 3 that are unbuilt at the moment, including an SU-76M which I think I'll build sometime soon. Brian Kerwan said, "Don't get political." Or what, you'll leave? Oh no, please don't. That was probably some pretty obvious sarcasm. This is Ask a Herbert Erpaderp where, if I want, I'll give my opinions. I don't know what upset you. Was it saying Happy Pride Month? Or Black Lives Matter? Or are you butthurt because you're the sort of ding-dong that would say, "Duh, but all lives matter"? Maybe I'll add some more. Fuck Nazis, fuck racists, fuck the police, and fuck bootlickers. People who've been around my videos or my streams probably already know the way I feel about most things. I don't need to, don't especially get any benefit from, and don't really want to make some kind of speech about this sort of thing, but saying nothing is pretty much the same as being okay with the status quo. So I'll say what I think. If you're a racist or a Nazi or homophobic or a misogynist, I think you're stupid, and I would rather you didn't watch my videos. And chances are if you're upset when somebody says Black Lives Matter, you are likely to be at least one of those things. There are things we can agree to disagree on. There are definitely a few people around my community who I disagree with on things. And that's okay. It would be boring if everybody agreed on everything all the time, and you can still get along with people who have different opinions. But you can't agree to disagree with things like racism. Sure, I'm a white guy, I get to live life on easy mode, and it doesn't really affect me, but the world isn't a zero-sum game, and somebody's life being made better doesn't take away from my own. So why shouldn't things change to benefit everybody? Business as usual is bullshit, and humans need to move forward and do our best to improve. To be fair, this person's comment was the least edgelordy and didn't even have any swearing, so it's the only one that I'm going to bother commenting on. The profanity filter got the rest. Some of you really need to get a grip. Go out and do something instead of being angry shitheads on the internet. Enough of that. The people who it's directed at have probably already left. Oh well. Let's have a look at some of the models that have been shared on the Discord community over the last couple of weeks. First up, Smoes has shared his BV141, which is, as I probably say every time I see one of these, quite an odd looking plane indeed, though very interesting because of that. This is a 1/72nd scale kit from Airfix, and it's also Smoes' first time airbrushing a complete model from base coat to clear coat. Very nice. Keep up the good work. Trekan Baluvich shared these 2 models, a T-55 AM2, which is the tank, obviously, and a BTR-60, which, logically, is the wheelie boy here. This is for Trekan's slowly growing Syrian force for Team Yankee. Both of these are 15mm scale or 1/100th scale plastic models from Battlefront, and both of them are very well done. Trekan also shared this very nice 15mm scale Schwimmwagen. Who doesn't like a nice little Schwimmwagen? Also, my reading of the word is probably terrible. This is a resin model from Forged in Battle, and the crew figures are metal. I think it looks pretty neat, and it's been painted very well indeed. Ratto shared this spider friend. According to Ratto's girlfriend, this is a coffee spider, but Mias Miniatures claim that it's a barrow spider. Which is it? Why not both? What really matters is that it looks great, both the model itself and Ratto's paintwork. Awesome work as always. The big boy shared this Super Pershing. This is in 15mm scale and I'm assuming it's the Battlefront kit. The big boy has made a couple of modifications to this model, like cutting off the front fenders, adding armor texture, and some flame cut marks in the armor. I think it looks really good. The extra armor parts are a nice rusty looking colour. I like how you've done that. Very nice work. Space Monkey shared this Spitfire Mark 9C as flown by Stanislaw Skalski, who was a Polish pilot and whose name I'm likely saying quite wrong. This is an Airfix 1/72nd scale model, and it's been painted very nicely. I quite like the blue colour that you've used on the underside. A job well done. And that's it for the models this fortnight. Thank you to everybody who shared their work on Discord, even if it wasn't shared here. Also, thanks to everybody who asked a question. Ask a Herbert Erpaderp will of course be back in 2 weeks, so put your burning questions in the comment section below, or in the appropriate channel on Discord. And if you happen to have some adorable pets, which I know a lot of you do, I think next fortnight we'll have a look at some good critters. So share those in the pet section of Discord if you would like. It would make me happy, and maybe other people as well. So that'd be nice. If you've not done so already, why not subscribe, follow, ring the bell, become a patron or YouTube member, or maybe just come say hi on Discord or Twitch. Links to all of my things are in the description below, and as always, I shall return soon. So until then, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching. Farewell.